You hear the phrase female hypergamy, and 1,000 hot takes crowd the room. Anger, blame, denial, defeat. None of that will help you. The uncomfortable truth isn't that women are cruel or materialistic or playing some rigged game. The truth is that selection is real. It always has been, and it will keep operating whether you acknowledge it or not. Hypergamy is just a clinical word for a natural filter, a tendency to choose the best fit available. The filter isn't judging your soul, it's reading your signals. It reads your posture around your time, the spine of your standards, the rhythm of your mission, the steadiness of your emotions, the evidence of your competence, and the quality of your environment. It reads whether you can carry your side of life without borrowing identity from the woman in front of you. If that sounds harsh, good. Harsh is the friend that tells you the weather and hands you a jacket instead of superstition and a smile. Start by stripping away the drama. Hypergamy isn't a conspiracy, it's selectivity. It doesn't make women villains, it makes them human. In every era, both men and women sought for value, only the signals differ. Men often over-index on youth and beauty. Women often over-index on integrity, direction, and the capacity to create a stable, meaningful life. Not just money, direction. Not just status, substance. Not just talk, evidence. A woman tuned to build something real will not invest in a man who is still renting his identity from her validation. That isn't cruelty. That is a nervous system that has learned across centuries to protect itself from chaos. And chaos is exactly what a man without standards, purpose, and self-respect brings, no matter how sweet his words sound. You don't defeat hypergamy with speeches. You align with it by becoming the kind of man whose reality answers its questions before they re-asked. The biggest mistake men make is reading hypergamy through the lens of lack. If I don't to have X or look like Y, I'm done. That frame is poison because it rushes you toward tricks and shortcuts. Shortcuts never survive contact with a woman's intuition. Desire does not respond to presentations, it responds to presence. Presence is not a pose, it's a byproduct of living a week you respect. That is the first uncomfortable recalibration. Attraction rises when your life works, whether or not she appears. Look at how neediness breaks the spell. Neediness is not caring, it's self-abandonment dressed up as romance. When you text every hour to keep a balloon in the air, when you cancel sacred appointments to be instantly available, when your yes is free and your no is missing her body, here's a message you didn't mean to send. Your world has no weight. Hypergamy translates that signal as risk. If your life rearranges at every ping, how will you hold steady under the real pressures? Illness, deadlines, children, money, grief. She doesn't need you to be stone, she needs you to be a river. Rivers move, but they have banks. Banks are boundaries. Boundaries aren't prisons. They are the architecture that lets life flow without flooding the village. Purpose is the bank that holds the water. Not a performative mission you advertise to look impressive, but the quiet structure of your days. The work you show up to when nobody claps, the craft you improve when no one's watching, the schedule you protect because a meaningful future is built from boring blocks. You do not need some epic narrative. You need clarity about the next 90 days and the courage to stack simple, repeatable habits that carry you there. When a woman meets a man whose calendar reflects direction, she feels something primal and comforting: safety. She also feels something exciting: challenge. Safety, because consistency communicates you won't collapse under load. Challenge, because you will not collapse into her either. Viktor Frankl described meaning as the axis of human resilience. Turn your week around that axis and your attention stops wobbling. Wobble is unattractive, not because you're less of a person when you wobble, but because your nervous system broadcasts stress it expects someone else to absorb. Your attention is the currency that tells the truth about your values. Hypergamy reads how you spend it. Spend it like confetti and you make yourself cheap. Guard it like a miser and you make yourself cold. The sweet spot is generosity with discernment. When you are with her, be with her. The phone out of sight, the eyes attentive, the questions real. When you are not with her, stop trying to drip-feed connection to keep anxiety asleep. Connection grows in depth, not in dosage. Blaise Pascal wrote about the restless mind that flees silence. You do yourself a favor by learning to sit inside a pause without turning it into a verdict. If she replies late, you do not sprint to keep the balloon in the air. You let reciprocity reveal itself. Your silence is not punishment, it is respect for your own rhythm. The paradox is delicious. By removing low-grade constant access, you increase the value of your presence. Scarcity here is not a trick from a book. It's the natural consequence of a life anchored to priorities. Robert Cialdini observed that humans value what is not guaranteed. Don't fake unavailability. Live with priorities strong enough that constant availability would be dishonest. The next layer hypergamy reads is frame. Frame is not dominance or performance. Frame is simply the invisible rule set of an interaction. Who leads the pace, who adapts, what this connection means. Most men give away frame because they want to be liked. They become agreeable to the point of disappearing. The attractive man can be kind without vanishing. He proposes plans instead of orbiting indecision. He sets time windows because his week is real, not empty. He uses plain language to handle friction without theatrics. He neither grovels when boundaries are crossed, nor explodes to reclaim status. He simply lets his standards speak. If a plan gets cancelled twice last minute, he says he enjoyed the energy and that for it to work, plans need to be confirmed. No threats, no speeches. Then he waits for behavior. Words are cheap in the short term, behavior is expensive in the long term. Hypergamy listens to behavior. Competence is a signal you can feel without charts. It is the cut of your choices, the order of your space, the way your hands move when something breaks, the way your voice changes when a decision must be made. You do not need to be a millionaire or a model. You need to be reliable. That reliability is built in the gym under a barbell, and in your kitchen when you cook real food, and in your room when you throw away what you done to use, and in your bank account when you stop buying status and start funding stability. You train because bodies built for load carry emotions better. You sleep because a tired man becomes a needy man. You dress like you respect your frame. Not flashy, fitted, not trendy, intentional. You learn a craft and you let your portfolio talk. Reps create calm. Calm creates charisma. Charisma is not loud. It is the hum of a man who knows he can solve what life will ask of him or find someone who can without drama. That hum is a hypergamy magnet because it reduces the chaos tax on everyone around you. Another uncomfortable truth. Kindness only kills attraction when it is counterfeit. Men who say nice guys finish last usually mean performers get filtered by women who can smell the performance. Keep kindness, remove purchase. If your good morning is a down payment for attention, the invoice shows in your tone. If your gifts are bribes to buy peace, the ledger bleeds through. Kindness with standards is irresistible. You open doors, you look out for the people in your world, you check that she got home safe, and you still say no when no is correct. That mix, soft hands, hard backbone, is the masculine signature most men never develop because they chase approval instead of choosing integrity. Let's bring this out of theory and into trenches where hypergamy sorts relentlessly. Imagine the moment of first contact. You see her, you feel the pull, and your nervous system surges with the urge to impress. You override the urge. You step in with presence, not performance. You make an observation specific enough to prove you're awake. You ask a question because you actually want to know, and you allow silence to breathe. You don't dump a resume. You exit before the energy sags. If you exchange numbers, you send a message that advances the story, not a stream of dopamine pings that keep your insecurity quiet. You propose 2 windows that fit your week's rhythm. If she counters with a vague, "we'll see," you let it live there. 2 days later, you check once with a concrete plan. If vagueness continues, you step back. You didn't lose. You filtered. You freed space for alignment instead of forcing investment from misalignment. Now texting. Most men think momentum is a balloon that dies without constant taps. The truth is that momentum suffocates under constant taps because you remove anticipation. You answer when you can be present. You say when you're in deep work and when you'll be back. You move conversations toward real experiences. You don't try to maintain a high with emojis. If she mirrors energy, you meet her. If she recedes, you don't chase echoes. You return to your mission. When you return later, it's with intention, not apology. This rhythm teaches your nervous system that your life doesn't hinge on any one person's availability. Hypergamy reads that as abundance. It is. On the date, you choose a place where conversation has room to stretch. You arrive a touch early because rushing kills presence. You sit like a man whose spine remembers him. You ask about decisions because decisions reveal values. You share slices of your world that show your values without turning the night into a TED Talk. You watch how she treats the server because micro-interactions predict macro patterns. You flirt with warmth. You tease lightly. You let humor appear without forcing it. You are comfortable with eye contact long enough to be felt, but never so long it becomes a contest. You end while the energy is still bright. If there's a kiss, it comes because the moment asked, not because your ego required proof. If there isn't, you trust timing more than you trust urgency. Urgency is often fear wearing cologne. Conflict is where hypergamy separates posturing from practice strength. She's late without a text. She cancels last minute twice. She speaks from stress and gets sharp. You don't become a doormat and you don't become a judge. You become a mirror for your standards. You say that you enjoyed the time, and for this to work you require advance notice. You say that you're happy to continue when you can talk without attacking each other. Then you step back and look at the pattern. One mistake is life. A pattern is a choice. You are not here to manage someone out of their choices. You'll help a person you've chosen build better habits. You won't rescue a stranger from the consequences of not having any. That line isn't cold. It's loving to both of you. Distance exposes anxious attachments brutally. You will face weeks where work stretches you thin, where family takes priority, where schedules misalign. The needy man fills the gap with frantic noise. The grounded man pre-frames reality. He says this week is stacked and he'll reach out Sunday to lock next. On Sunday he does. No drama, no apology, no sulking. That steadiness is a rare masculine energy because it sends 4 messages at once. I want you here, I keep my word, I keep my world moving, and I will not abandon myself to keep you. Hypergamy relaxes into that because it tells the truth about the future. Life will often demand you hold 2 things at once, desire and direction. Now the myth that poisons more men than any other, that hypergamy is mostly about money. Money matters because it represents solved problems, but it is not the only or even the first lever. Direction beats dollars when dollars are detached from discipline. Integrity beats income when income is a costume. Women read trajectory as much as they read snapshot. Are you bending upward or are you coasting on borrowed shine? Are your habits and friendships aligned to where you claim you're going? Your environment tells on you. Your room, your car, your desk, the way you handle bills, the subscriptions you let renew out of laziness. These are not trivialities. They are a language your future reads. Clean your space and you reduce the daily friction that turns you into a reactive version of yourself. Organize your money and you turn chaos into choices. Upgrade your wardrobe to fit and function, and your reflection stops arguing with your identity. The sum of these signals is quiet and loud at once. My life works, and I am the man who keeps it that way. Let's also cut through another comfortable lie. That looks decide everything, so why try? Looks are a multiplier, not a maker. Grooming, fitness, and style are respect signals that amplify what's inside. A man who trains, sleeps, eats clean, and dresses intentionally moves through the world differently. Not because he won a genetic lottery, but because his body becomes a reliable tool for his mind. He walks into rooms with kinetic honesty. He doesn't tell you he's disciplined, his jawline and energy inform you. He doesn't announce he's restful, his eyes confirm it. Hypergamy notices health not as vanity, but as forecast. A healthy man reduces the likelihood of future chaos. Reduction of chaos is hot. A quieter layer most men miss is the way you relate to your own shadow. Everyone has one. The parts of you that carry insecurity, jealousy, anger, need. If you refuse to meet those parts, they will leak in exactly the moments when you need composure most. Carl Jung didn't romanticize the shadow. He invited you to integrate it. Integration looks like catching jealousy before it writes a paragraph, like breathing before you speak, like choosing exercise over accusation, like asking for clarity instead of inventing stories, like admitting fear without turning it into drama. Women don't need you to be stainless. They need you to be self-aware. Hypergamy reads the difference between a man who denies his darkness and a man who has domesticated it. The latter is safer. Safe doesn't mean boring. It means you can make room for intensity without burning the house down. Validation is another landmine. Many men pursue women as pharmacies for self-esteem. Every reply is a pill. Every delay is withdrawal. That dependence makes you a hostage to the whims of a stranger. Erich Fromm mapped a different path. Connection that flows from fullness. Fullness doesn't mean you don't need anyone. It means you want from a center that won't collapse if the answer is no. You can be sweet without bargaining, generous without ledgers, romantic without bribery. The reason this is rare is that it requires evidence stacked in private. You don't think yourself into fullness. You build it. You keep promises. You do what you said you would when it's boring. You set a boundary and watch yourself honor it. You make a plan and watch yourself follow it. Confidence grows in that greenhouse. When you finally stand across from a woman you want, your body doesn't beg you to perform. It reminds you to be. Hypergamy at its core is meaning-seeking. It is the feminine impulse to join a story that won't waste her. You can resent that impulse, or you can honor it by becoming a man whose story deserves a co-author. Notice the difference between inviting and selling. Selling begs. Inviting leads, selling floods her with reasons to choose you. Inviting lays out a path and asks if she wants to walk. Hypergamy says yes when the path is clear and the walker is worthy. That worthiness is not a trophy. It is a series of days aligned with your values when nobody is keeping score. Let's walk through a week where you honor this truth instead of arguing with it. You wake at a consistent hour because your mornings belong to you. You train because your body is your first tool. You protect 90 minutes of deep work because your craft feeds your future. You check your spending and move a small amount into investments because discipline today buys freedom later. You clean a room because external order frees internal bandwidth. You text her when your schedule says present, not when anxiety says panic. You lead with a plan. You accept a counterplan once. You leave space for initiative. You end the day before midnight because tomorrow's power must be funded. None of this is glamorous. All of this is attractive. Hypergamy respects the math of a life that adds up. What about tests? Most early tests are calibrations. She's not trying to break you. She's trying to read you. She might tease to see if you can play. She might go quiet to see if you can breathe. She might disagree to see if you can hold a view without contempt. She might push a boundary to see if you have one. If you mistake calibration for attack, you escalate unnecessarily. If you welcome calibration as data, you respond in kind. You match play with play, silence with space, disagreement with respect, boundary pushing with a calm reminder of your rules. The men who rage call women manipulative. The men who collapse call women confusing. The men who stand simply call women human, and keep choosing alignment. If you feel bitterness trying to sneak in, interrogate it. Bitterness is grief that forgot how to move. Maybe you invested in someone who was never going to choose you, and you turned that into a theory about all women. Maybe you sought mothers in girlfriends and called hypergamy cruel when they refused the job description. Maybe you performed kindness to buy affection and called women ungrateful when the invoice wasn't paid. Drop the stories, keep the lessons. Become the man whose presence doesn't require a pitch. That man doesn't avoid romance, he deepens it. He plans dates with attention to detail. He initiates difficult conversations before resentment accumulates. He receives care without discomfort because he is not allergic to being loved. He remains selective without being cynical because he knows solitude is better than the wrong crowd. Hypergamy doesn't punish him, it thanks him. You might ask where all of this leads after the first glow. It leads to a relationship where pursuit becomes mutual. She invests because investment has meaning, not because you dangle attention, but because your growth keeps providing new edges for intimacy. You don't become complacent because your standards are internal, not contingent on her presence. You keep training, learning, building, and inviting her into chapters when it makes sense. You don't turn her into your entire purpose because purpose concentrated in a person becomes pressure, and pressure suffocates desire. Paradoxically, the more you continue becoming, the more she continues choosing. That is hypergamy aligned, not fought. There will be days you slip. You'll text too much, you'll chase a little. You'll explain a boundary to death because guilt made you verbose. You'll check a read receipt like it's a report card. It's fine. Self-respect is not a statue, it's a practice. Catch yourself, laugh, recalibrate, replace one reaction with one response. Install one small habit in place of one whole. Add one rep to the bar and 1 hour to the deep work block. Call one friend who sharpens you. Unfollow one feed that agitates you into stupidity. Every micro-correction is a brick in a cathedral no one can take away from you. Hypergamy will keep filtering. Good. Filters save time. So here is the vow you make quietly tonight, without witnesses and without posting about it. You will stop arguing with a force that existed before you and will exist after you. You will use it instead. You will become a man whose week teaches hypergamy to relax and lean in. You will choose standards over spectacle, direction over distraction, presence over performance, kindness over purchase, competence over bravado, integration over denial, invitations over sales. You will build proof where other men build excuses. You will let your calendar, your room, your body, your portfolio, your eye contact, and your silence do the talking. You will stop trying to be liked and start living like a man you like. That shift alone will change your reflection first and your results second. When you understand all this, female hypergamy stops being a scary word and starts being a simple test you are grateful exists. It keeps you honest. It prevents you from confusing chemistry with compatibility. It turns you away from people who only love your attention and toward people who love your presence. And when you stand across from a woman who is also selective, who brings her own standards and softness, who wants a man, not a project, the fit will feel like oxygen. You won't need to ask whether you're good enough. You'll know because you built a life where the answer is yes, with or without her. That is not detachment, that is dignity. That is the energy that moves a woman from curiosity to investment to pursuit, not because you hacked her brain, but because you aligned your reality with what her nervous system has always sought. A man who can lead without chaining, love without pleading, hold without hiding, and grow without end.